As federal workers and contractors navigate sudden disruption, Maryland leaders are focused on keeping families housed, connected, and economically mobile. Housing tied to transit and new pathways into emerging industries are central to that strategy. We'll learn more from Congressman Glenn Ivey of Maryland and Bryan Franklin, Deputy Director of LISC-DC. Congressman Ivey, Mr. Franklin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Congressman, let's start with you. We're hearing a lot of anxiety from federal workers and contractors across the region, continuing from workforce actions over the past year. What are you seeing on the ground in Maryland right now?
It's been awful. We've had a lot of people who've been forced out of their jobs, federal government employees who've been doing great service for the public for decades in some instances and getting excellent reviews. But they've been pushed out of their positions. We had probationary employees who'd come in, some of them at great sacrifice. They'd sold houses and moved to the DMV area, and they were pushed out as well. So we've got between 20 and 30,000 people in Maryland alone who've gone through that sort of scenario. And so the financial impact has been terrible for them. And we want to try and make sure we do all of the things that we can to try and help them figure out how to muddle through, how to get through this, and get to the light at the end of the tunnel.
How is the state of Maryland coordinating its resources to give a fulsome and well-rounded response to the needs of these folks?
Well, there's a challenge in one respect because money's tight at the state and county levels as well here in Maryland. So that's been a challenge. But the governor's, I thought, done a great job as far as trying to provide as much support as possible, say, for example, with respect to job fairs, other types of funding to help people who are facing challenges. Some, for example, electric utility and heating issues. We're trying to help with payments on that front. So there's a number of programs along those lines that the state and the county have rolled out. There's still some that, the administration hasn't shut down entirely either, but they've been making a lot of cuts on that front. Programs like SNAP, for example, Medicaid, are really taking big hits. So it's been a challenge, but I think there's an effort, certainly in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, to try and do as much as possible to try to help to mitigate the impact.
Thank you. Mr. Franklin, let me come to you because you're leading an event this weekend that begins to address some of the affordability issues that the Congressman just laid out. Tell us about the Housing and Economic Development event along the Blue Line this weekend. What's in store?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry. So this Saturday, we're hosting an event open to the public in the Blue Line corridor. And when you think about the Blue Line corridor, I want you to think kind of the central part of Prince George's County along Central Avenue and the Blue and Silver Line metro stops that run throughout the county. And this event is really around kind of a two-pronged focus. On one hand, nationally and regionally, we know we have a huge housing affordability challenge. I think I heard recently that the average home buying age for the first-time home buyer is 40 years old, which is the highest it's ever been. And regionally, we need to add over 300,000 units. And this was before the federal job loss that the Congressman mentioned. And so on one hand, this event is going to provide tangible services to Prince George's residents. We'll have partners who are providing financial coaching, foreclosure prevention, housing counseling, food access support. But at the same time, amidst all those challenges, we're seeing something really new and exciting emerge in the central part of Prince George's County. And it's a collection of stakeholders, public, private, civic, and philanthropic, who are coming together under the vision to create a thriving Blue Line corridor where history and culture fuel progress, and where residents, businesses, and communities share in that growth and opportunity. And so as part of this event, we'll also have a panel discussion looking at and kind of reimagining together how this corridor could change for the better of everyone.
Who do you imagine attending this event? Is it targeted to specific folks?
Yeah, I mean, at the base, we wanted to make sure that we're providing services for residents. So if you are struggling with your housing payments and need support there, or if you're hoping to buy a house, there will be folks that can support you with both of those things. On the other hand, if you're looking to make a career change, right, we'll have partners from across the county that can support with that. We're also hoping that developers, folks who are looking to build in the corridor, will join us, as well as small business owners who have been operating and are trying to think about how do I stay and thrive here.
Congressman Ivey?
Yeah, Mr. Franklin's exactly right. We're trying to help displaced workers, first-time home buyers, people who want to learn more about affordable housing in Prince George's County, because it's hard to find affordable housing anywhere in the DC area. And there's certainly challenges in Prince George's as well. And some people are having other challenges. Tax increases are causing issues for them as well. So we want to have a number of panel discussions about it, provide counseling and information to people who need that sort of guidance. And also there's going to be information about building around the metro stations. I think from a development standpoint, we're trying to take a long-term look at what we can build out. Certainly the focus around the Blue Line corridors is central to this. And make sure that we're moving in the right direction and providing the type of mix of new housing that help people at all levels.
I'm speaking with Congressman Glenn Ivey. He represents Maryland's 4th Congressional District, and Bryan Franklin is Deputy Director of the Local Initiative Support Corporation for D.C. Congressman, let me come back to you because there's another event coming up early next week on AI, quantum, and the Discovery District. Tell us about Maryland's focus here on technology as a pathway for workforce transition and business growth.
Yeah, one of the untold stories for Prince George's County is the level of technological development that we've got going on in and around northern Prince George's County. A lot of it's been led by the University of Maryland and the incubator it's got that spun off major companies. One of them is IonQ, which is a quantum computing company that's one of the leaders in the world. In fact, I think they just closed on a $2 billion deal to bring another company under their umbrella. But they're doing outstanding work, and we want to make sure that we focus on helping them grow. We've got NASA Goddard, which also has a lot of contracting that they do. Major science and technological development draws a lot of engineers. There have been cuts there, but it's still ongoing. NOAA, NSA, just outside of Prince George's County with respect to cybersecurity. Army Research Lab is within Prince George's. FDA and NIH are just outside. So we have this major concentration of these kinds of federal government institutions that are doing work that's critical to the future of the United States. And we want to make sure we do everything we can to help support that. Unfortunately, the administration has been cutting, the federal and government employees that they've cut include some of the people with this kind of technological expertise and experience. We're trying to reverse that trend, but at the same time, continue to move it forward on the academic side and the private sector in the Prince George's area.
Well, you're certainly right. A number of folks affiliated with the scientific pursuits have lost their employment, but a lot of other displaced federal workers might not think of themselves as affiliated with AI and quantum computing. So as you think about this event, what other sorts of roles or entry points should these folks be listening for that makes these emerging sectors more accessible than people might think?
Yeah, no, we throw terms around a lot, like say AI. I just came from a meeting, actually. We were talking about it with a Fortune 500 company, but AI is going to be part of everything going forward. So I think developing some skills there, certainly an understanding about it, and then moving forward with to build some kind of expertise on how your particular industry or line of research can use it, I think is going to be critical going forward. And so we've got a National Competitiveness Council meeting that's coming together. Day one is going to be at Morgan State, but day two is going to be at the University of Maryland next Tuesday. And it's focusing on this and trying to make sure we get as much information to the public as possible, but also target people who are already in this line of work, in this field, and are trying to figure out ways to move forward or, build out their network.
And so, Congressman, thinking of the displaced federal workers that you know and that you've been in touch with, if you could give them one piece of advice right now, one action to take, where do you want them to start, especially as we're thinking about these events over the coming few days?
Yeah, I mean, we did a job fair 8-9 months ago, and one of the people that came to it was, I think she had a PhD in neurobiology, and she'd been at NIH doing clinical trials on Alzheimer's. And the job fair she came to, she said, I know you don't have anything for me here, but I wanted to come and be supportive. The Competitiveness Council issues that we're doing next week may have the types of opportunities that are fitting with her skill set. That's the thing we're trying to do, create other opportunities. The regular job fairs are great, and those people, everybody needs work, so we want to try and create those kinds of opportunities. But this is a track that isn't available as much from this kind of network outreach approach. And we want to try and build that out. And we also want to make sure that everybody understands, including people in the area, that there's a lot of opportunities right here in the Prince George's County area, whether it's the Johns Hopkins APL lab or, NASA Goddard or, some of the others I just mentioned, NSA, where a lot of jobs have been cut, but we're starting to see them, rehire or bring in new people along those lines because we knew they cut too many people. That was too random. The chainsaw approach ultimately was damaging to these departments and the services they'd been providing to the American people. Now there's some sort of effort, I think, under the radar screen to some extent to rehabilitate what was done and correct it and get them back on track.
Well, let's wrap this up with websites for people who are interested. Mr. Franklin, where do people go to learn more about the Blue Line event?
Yeah, they can find out more at bluelinecc.org. That's bluelinecc.org.
And Congressman, what about the AI and quantum event?
You can go to ivey.house.gov. We can also help with the housing panel as well. So reach out to us for either one of those.
I've been speaking with Congressman Glenn Ivey, who represents Maryland's 4th Congressional District, and Bryan Franklin, who's the Deputy Director of the Local Initiative Support Corporation, D.C. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
We'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.